Okay, let's talk about some specific cases and see how to work with net curtains. Now let's say we have set up a lighting without curtains and net curtains, and we have quite a lot of light in the room. Everything looks good, and we're happy with that. But when you add curtains and net curtains, the light changes completely. Well, there's still something we can do about the curtains. We can either draw them or just increase the exposure value. But as for the net curtains, well, they can completely cover the window, and that changes the light dramatically. So this is our scene, the same one that we're working with in our course. And there's also net curtains here, which is on a separate layer and are hidden for now. Let me save the current lighting and then unhide the net curtains. And let's see what we get. As you can see, there's much less light and much more noise in the room now. And this is because our light sources, which is the sun and the V-Ray dome that illuminates our scene, are now covered by these net curtains. And there is now only as much light coming through as the material of the net curtains allows. Because of this, the light scatters a bit through this object and the noise level increases significantly. Moreover, even though we have added net curtains, it looks kind of weird. We need to get a backlighting effect on the net curtains. So I think you know what I mean. Let's see how this material is set up. It's a regular V-Ray MTL. It has two graphs, diffuse with fall off and opacity also with fall off. In order to get the backlighting effect on the net curtains, we need to use V-Ray two-sided MTL. Now, of course, here we're dealing with material rather than light. But in this case, these things are strongly interconnected. So we create a V-Ray two-sided MTL, and now we need to connect our net curtains material to the front material box. Don't forget that this material needs to be set to the net curtains object, because otherwise everything will remain as it is. Nothing will change. So select the net curtains, click Assign Material to Selection button, and there you go. As you can see, it looks a lot better now. Let's save this image. As you can see, the noise remains, and there's not much we can do about it. Whether we like it or not, we have to use fakes at this point. So the first thing we can do is to exclude the net curtains from the V-Ray dome. In that case, we'll have almost none of that nice backlighting. So let's exclude the light source. Select the light source, click Exclude button, and select net curtains from the list. See, now we have this effect. In some cases, this will be enough. Sometimes this kind of sunlight is enough to visualize the room. Although, sometimes, when it's not enough, we have to use fake light sources. If you remember, we have V-Ray sky on the light source. Let me move it into the material editor, and I'll select the instance type. There we go. And so now we can attach sky to the environment. And I'm going to press 8, and I'm going to drag it over here. But you have to be careful with this. This is an extra environment light that will light up the net curtains outside a little bit, but it will also add some noise. And so another way that can help you get rid of some extra noise is to simply exclude the net curtains from the shadows. And so to do this, you simply go to the object properties of the net curtains and uncheck the cast shadows box. This way we'll sacrifice the nice sunlight pattern. these nice stripes. But in some cases, due to the processing speed, we can worsen the picture a little bit. But in doing so, there's more light inside the room and less noise. We can also reduce the exposure a little bit because the light penetrates into the room well enough, but it doesn't look so good. In some cases, it's acceptable when net curtains are not so important. Therefore, here you choose what you prioritize. Also, we should not forget about fake lighting. For example, sometimes we need to illuminate the windows with fake lighting, and to do this we can create an additional corrective light source that will illuminate the net curtains only. So we go to Create tab, select Light Sources, click Vray, select Vray Light, and then Plane. Let's put it somewhere outside of the room, in front view. You could make it with target, or you can just twist it around. Point it as you need. See this shadow coming from this light source. So it's gonna require some adjustment. Let's go to Modify. To get rid of this shadow, you'll need to check Invisible box. As you can see now, there's no shadow. We'll leave the cast shadow box as it is, and we can illuminate the net curtains with a separate light source. So we go to Exclude menu and this lighting setting, find net curtains, select it, and click Include. That way we can do this kind of backlighting. But now it's like they're lit up in their entirety. And that's not very nice either. So I would add the walls here as well. So the light penetration from here would be more accurate. It would just be right. So we now can adjust its size, we can adjust brightness, and we can adjust the backlighting of the net curtains, the diffusion and all of that. I would also like to mention that this is still fake lighting, and you should use it only when you don't have any other options and you just can't fix it any other way, or if there's too much noise in the scene. I wouldn't recommend you get too carried away with it. Only use it when necessary. Alright, so now you know how to set up beautiful net curtains in Vray. Now I want to show you a really cool thing you can do with background in Corona. Sometimes the background reflections are, well, they're not strong enough. That is, we can change the material, but still we need to add a stronger reflection on the floor. Or, for example, you have net curtains, and yet the background is made with Corona light material, and some really odd artifacts occur in your scene. So this becomes especially noticeable if you're using gloss material with reflections. And I'd say most often these type of artifacts appear on the floor or on the walls, and unfortunately I wasn't able to actually simulate this type of situation because it usually happens by chance, quite randomly. So this is a pretty old bug that hasn't been fixed yet. Also, sometimes there are dark spots and stuff like that. So I'm just going to show you how to fix this bug and enhance the reflections on the floor or other reflective surfaces if need be. Okay, so I have Corona light material on my background. You already know this procedure from the video about setting up background behind the window. But now, we're actually going to use Corona Rayswitch. And please notice that this is the Corona Rayswitch MTL material. It's not Corona Rayswitch map, it's a material. So I'm using it because this way we can work with other parameters like reflection, luminosity, and so on. So I take the Corona Rayswitch MTL and drag it into the material editor. I'll save this scene so I can compare it before and after. And then I connect the background material to the direct visible box. And then I'm just going to set this Corona Rayswitch material to the background. And see what happens now. Reflections are very sharp and bright, but there's no detail here. They're just white. They look like this because there's nothing connected to the other boxes, like reflect and refract. So here in the mirror, the reflection is also pure white because there is nothing here, and this color is taken from environment Corona. So I connect all of this to the refract box. You can leave global illumination box as it is because the background doesn't really affect anything. But for the reflect box, I'll take a copy of the light material, hold down Shift, and connect it to the reflect box. And as you can see, everything is back to the way it was. So now I can work with the intensity in this box. Let's set it to 5. And as you can see, now the reflections are much clearer. What's more, if we have texture in the background, it will also be included in the reflections. Here we have pretty bright background, so it's not that obvious, but in the mirror, you can see this reflection right away. Okay, and also a few more words about the bug with dark spots on the walls or on the floor. In this case, you can check emit light box because it will only affect the reflection box. And again, I'll set the intensity to 3 or even to 1 because since emit light is enabled, the brightness is quite strong as it is. See, here's the difference. We can lower the intensity value quite a bit in this case. All right, so that's it. Now you can adjust reflections and background glare whichever way you want. So here's what it was before, and here's what it is now. Okay, let's talk about reflections, floor glare, mirror glare, and glass glare in Vray. Let's say we have a scene with a background, a floor, and a mirror. And so what we want is we want to enhance the reflections of the background without changing the materials or completely redesigning the scene. So what we can do, we can use the Vray override MTL that we already know. Let me add it to the material editor. And now I'm going to take this material that I have on environment on this cylinder around our scene, and I'm going to set it to base color box. And I'll set the MTL override to the cylinder right here. Nothing happened yet because we don't have anything set up. Let me save the scene so that I can compare it to what we get in the end. So, to enhance these reflections, we need to link the reflect graphic to this material, although a bigger one. So I take Vray Light MTL, hold down Shift, copy it, and then I set the value to 15, let's say. And then I connect it to the reflect material box. See, now the glare is enhanced. Let's save this one. See, here's the difference. The reflection in the mirror is changed as well. So this is a very simple method that you can use if you need to. However, if there are panes of glass in your scene, you need to keep one important thing in mind. If those panes of glass are considered an object in your scene and you have a glass material set for them, in that case, note that the refract parameter may not work correctly because material passes through the glass and changes its properties. So keep this in mind. Many people make this mistake and they don't know what to do about it. And in this case, I don't need to do it because I don't have any glass in my window openings. So there.